Good morning, everybody. Mike Nelson, Efficient Lending. Certainly do hope everybody's doing okay. It's a tough time right now, just with the pandemic and all the unrest and just issues our great nation's going through, and just wherever you are, I just pray for just peace and calm, and just that we can get back to healing. So, but with that said, the real estate market and the real estate industry is going to be a big part of whatever recovery that we have. And so I hope these updates each week are helpful and maybe bring some clarity about what are some of the strengths in the market, because I think there's actually a lot of really good news. There's certainly news to be concerned with, but I think there's some good news about it as well. So hopefully we can use these together. My general takeaway, though, is if you're in the agent, if you're a buyer, you're a seller, you're an agent, lender, whatever it may be, this is not a time, back, several months ago where you didn't really have to have a lot of sophistication in the deals. You got to understand the market, the dynamics, what's happening in the market. I'll get into that a little bit in just a minute and a couple other slides. But for those that are taking time to really understand this market, I think there's tremendous opportunity in it. So let's go ahead and just click over to the next slide, and we're going to talk about unemployment. So from the span of the pandemic, we've seen about 41 million applications for benefits. It looks like in the last several weeks, about 4 million people have returned to work. So that's really good. The actual unemployment rate, when you adjust for the relief for people coming back to work, for the lag in numbers, whatnot, it's probably just shy of 15%. It was probably a good 5 points or so higher than that just within weeks ago. So there is healing and there is employment coming back, which is, it's going to be the foundation to whatever recovery we have. So we got to keep that in mind. Now, if we look at April pending home sales and new home sales, there's some interesting data here. Signed contracts on existing homes are down 22%. These numbers are through April. We estimated 15%, or NBS Highway did 15%. 22, so that's worse. We're down 34% year over year. No surprise there that we're going to be way down. Now, I'm going to talk about this pending number here in just a minute. What's interesting is we were expecting a negative number on new home sales, and last in April, they actually clicked up 0.6%. That would be the April surprise, so to speak. Let me talk about inventory for a little bit right here. When we look at the pending home sales, existing contracts on existing homes were worse than expected. Personally, I see that as an issue right now that we have with inventory. Anecdotally, I was just in a deal over the weekend. There were 19 offers on this home. I think the winning bid was something like 30 grand-ish over the asking price, with contingencies in the contract about appraisal coming in, the buyer was obligated to make up the difference, inspection limitations, things of that nature. So we're really seeing a seller-heavy market, and we're seeing, and hearing about contracts coming in with really seller advantageous terms. And we see that in a low interest rate environment in which people think there's some type of gain coming downstream where they try to get into the market, purchase a home, and it slants heavily to the seller's advantage. I was kind of hoping we were in that type of market prior to COVID. I was hoping that we'd become more to a neutral market. I think a neutral market is best, where sellers and buyers are neutral. I don't really love it when the buyers have the advantage or the sellers have the advantage. I will tell you this, Fannie Mae, NBS Highway, and really one of the largest wholesale lenders in the country, they're really thinking that we're going to see interest rates routinely through 2021 and for 30-year fixed 2.5% to 3%. Clearly, this is a historically unprecedented low interest rate, and it will favor, believe it or not, the sellers, because we're going to see so many deals into the market that buyers are going to start multiple bid environments, and they're going to start, doing things on contracts that really limit their abilities in the home but favor the seller. I'm not a big fan of that. I think we're going to see it coming. I know several people right now, if inventory was better, they would have purchased the home, and consequently these pending home sales numbers would be better. So something to think about and look at as we go through this. I think it is really important in a tight inventory, seller-favored market. You got to have a good lender. You got to have a great agent, and you really need to look at the terms of the contract before you get engaged in the home. Because look, you'll get a house. It may just take longer than you like. So the other great news is we're still expecting home prices to increase 4% year over year. So that's really good news. A couple final thoughts that I want to leave with you here as we go through this kind of fleshing out of numbers, month over month numbers that we look like, inflation, home sales, unemployment rates, things of that nature. As you would guess, inflation is low right now. I think this is something that's going to be a hot topic X number of months down the road. You can't see as much debt in the form of relief coming into the marketplace. You can't see all these price pressures on price and contracts without having inflation take hold at some point, and that'll be a big issue. I don't know when, obviously. Two interesting things in the market. Savings rates reached 33%, which is an all-time high. Well, that makes sense. It was, opportunities to purchase have been severely reduced, and then people in times of less than stable market conditions save. What's also interesting is that income, it went up drastically the last period. I'll probably talk about that more next week, and that's just because a lot of people were making more money on government relief than they were in their jobs, and that is not a good recipe for a vibrant real estate market. I'm hoping that corrects as well. Last thing I want to leave you with, I'm seeing non-QM, non-qualified mortgages come back. If you want more information on that, I've got a ton of videos on non-QM, but on my YouTube channel. But if you listen to my previous videos about a month ago in these updates, I was suggesting that when we see the market start to become healthy, when we see the recovery begin, we're going to see non-QM investors re-enter the market. I'm receiving a lot of advertisements from investors every day on my email now saying that they will do loans for self-employed, bank statement loans, debt service coverage ratios, the products that are back involved for investment type properties. We're seeing those products come back into the market. And that's a good sign. That means that there's fundamentally some type of health in the market that will sustain those types of products. So that's one of the things that I was really keying on looking for, and it's back. The last thing I'll leave you with here before we cut off for today is now more than ever, you've got to have a great real estate agent and a great financial team around you to really do well in this market. And if you do that, I think there are tons of opportunities that you can take advantage of and really have success in the marketplace. All right, that's my update for today. I really appreciate you joining in with me. Thanks again. I'll be back at it next Tuesday. I do have my weekly mortgage minute coming up this Friday as well. Thanks again. Hope you have a great week.